Hello out there. This is Power at the Podcast. Thank you for chiming in, tuning in. Today, I have a very special guest, a friend that I recently met a few days ago. We knew each other through Instagram and social media, as is the case nowadays, and invited him over to the studio, and he had a certain curiosity for the spot, and I had a curiosity for his work as an artist. I'd like to welcome to the show Matt U. Johnson. How you doing, Matt?
Wagwan.
Yeah,
Wagwan.
and co-hosting with me today and just kind of helping me to tap into the conversation and expand and make it dynamic is Richie Marufo.
What's up?
Cool. So Matt, tell our audience out there, a little bit about just the intros to who you are.
So bigging up the Power at the Pass, podcast. I'm the one and only Jamerican in the 915. I'm a recording artist, an international recording artist, and a SAG actor. And yeah, man, I'm here in El Paso for the last, say, 9 years on and off. I've been doing a lot of things internationally, touring internationally. I just got back from Toronto, and I've been there for 10 months to a year, doing a lot of new things, working with people like Choclair, who's a Juno Award-winning artist, and also a Latin Grammy nominee, Cito Rocks, for my last single, Guan Get It. And I'll be releasing some new remixes of Guan Get It with TVL, a producer on Urban Tree Records over there in Germany. So that's where I'll go on,
Yeah. No, I'm gonna lower the mic a little closer because right now it's at your eyes. There you go.
Yeah. That's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome, man. Awesome. Well, welcome to the musical fray and the culture of La Frontera in El Paso. I think it's such a unique, addition to a very diverse and growing music industry here. If we can call it an industry, it's more, I think, an art industry and on multiple. What's that, Rich?
Or just lower the angle a little.
Lower, like that?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to welcome you to El Paso. Though you've been here for 9 years, for
Yeah,
me,
man.
it's the first time we meet, and I couldn't be happier that there's a Jamaican artist here in town.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So, I've been here for 9 years on and off. I've been, sometimes I stay a couple of years and I go abroad to England, back to Jamaica, like I said, Toronto, London, Ontario. But I've done a lot of good things here in, the borderland. And I love the borderland, for its, opportunity to not be so saturated like New York City and LA and be able to take advantage of certain things for artists like myself, because people like myself that do reggae dancehall music and infuse it with pop, electronic music, there's a very wide audience here. Because a lot of people might think it's okay, it's right near the Mexican border, but they don't realize that there's so many concerts that happen here in El Paso, such as Minor Palooza, Neon Desert, there was Sun City Music Festival, and so forth. And there's a lot of things building up. They got new acts coming through like Khalid, Evander Grimm, The scene is bubbling, it's bursting, and that's what I'm here for.
What was your take of El Paso? 10 years ago when your father decided to come down here to practice. Your father's a physician. What was your perception of El Paso before you came here?
When I first came here, I was always thinking about the Wild Wild West, because I'd never been to Texas. This was my first part of Texas I've been to. It was El Paso. I didn't go to Austin yet, and then go. So I was thinking, okay, it's gonna be like a rodeo kind of thing, country vibe, no?
I better get my cowboy hat and
Yeah.
spurs.
So I thought that's what it was gonna be, but like when I came down here, I seen other artists, other hip hop artists, other R&B artists, not people doing so much like dancehall music like how I'm doing, but I've seen other genres besides the Latino kind of music. So I was presently like surprised, like. I felt like, okay, maybe I can broaden my horizons here, and I did. And I was able to do, Fiesta de las Flores with the Latin Soul Project here. They were the first group, like Mexican hip-hop group, to actually ask me to do a show with them. and I did it at the Coliseum like years ago.
Okay, I was
Right
what
on.
year ago? Years ago.
That was around maybe 2014,
Okay.
2014, 2013.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Awesome.
Tell us about the origins of your music career and what
Yeah.
got you into making music.
So my dad was a promoter, and he was also a spoken word artist.
Oh, nice.
And he was in a band called Reverend Johnson and the Positive Vibes with the I Tree, like girls like the I Trees. I was on with Bob Marley, kind of similar kind of things. But he was doing like a chanting, like say Shaba, say Shaba, say Shaba in South Africa, stuff like that. And then they would do the background singing, and they would fight against things like apartheid, and they would be like just doing like activism stuff. And that's what his music would be about. So that's where I came into the picture, and he used to take me to the concerts, like the Black Uhuru concerts, and then he started like throwing his own stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like Reggae Under the Stars.
Wow.
And then yeah. So when I was a baby and stuff like that, I would be around all of that. And that's when like I started meeting people like Jesse D from the Force MDs, Pablo Moses, Steel Pulse, and all them thing there, you know? So that's what Wagwan, you know, that's what brought me into the music industry.
That's pretty. That's impressive. And he was
Yeah,
doing
man,
that simultaneously going to medical school, right?
Well, he was doing that before medical school.
Okay.
So he was doing the things, and like you can actually look on YouTube and see those videos. It's Reverend Johnson and the Positive Vibes. And then after that, he was going to medical school because he started as an EMT in the Lower East Side first.
Wow, what a story.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
At Nina Health Clinic, that's where he started.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I have a little bit of history in New York, which is why, for you out there, that, when Matt and I kind of go back on Lower East Side, I do have some context, and I spent some time there, 10 years ago for about 5 years, and I got to get familiar with the Nuyorican culture and the Dominicans and Lower East Side, and it's a kind of a home away from home. I chose to go to New York, or rather, I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to get up there. And in El Paso, most of my colleagues and friends and associates, the easier or the more natural sort of migrationary point is Los Angeles, because it's close, right?
Correct.
And I love Los Angeles, but I've always had more of an inclination towards New York City, just because I felt that there it's like you get the best of the best in everything.
Well, you know what? Like when I came here in 2012, I moved to LA for a year. I did a stint. So I kind of know the vibe between the two cities, and LA is a different vibe.
Totally.
Like New York is more like fast paced, and it's always go on and moving. LA is more laid back, chill out, and and there's the Hollywood scene, and then there's the kind of like superficialness of.
Sure,
You know what I'm saying?
For a bit there, I thought, like, when I was involved in the movie industry in the late '90s, in mid '90s, late '90s, early 2000s. Luckily Hollywood was coming to El Paso, far west Texas, to maximize on lack of a union and lower wages. Before New Mexico, politicians got savvy and they brought in tax incentives and they took the industry up to Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Prior to that, they were coming here, and I got to work on a bunch of Oscar award-winning films. I was lucky enough to not have to leave to LA, respectively, and LA was coming here, and so I got to work with the industry, and so LA is a big industry town, and for a while I thought like, no, I want to have something real to say. I'm a writer. I'm from this terrain. I'm from the dirt and the sand, and I come from where people don't want to come from, and I'm going to tell that story. And so I thought New York was just more of T.J. English, my friend, the writer. I would say that any important artist spends time in New York.
Exactly, man.
LA is, you go there to
to branch out.
Yes, but New York is where you go get authenticated. You go get culturally notarized, so to speak.
Well, I mean, since I'm like born and raised in New York, and I was basically raised in Staten Island, but it's the 5 boroughs, so we would always have to go across the East River, basically.
Right.
And take the Staten Island ferry into Manhattan all the time to really, because Staten Island was kind of a quiet environment. They had Wu-Tang Clan there, and they had certain things going on in Snug Harbor, Cultural Center, and so forth. But you always had to go to Manhattan. You always had to go to Brooklyn and those places to really get the real true vibe of New York City. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And then the vibes in New York, I feel you have the fashion, you got the music, you got the bebop scene, you have like the
You also
hip
have the
hop
theater, man. You know,
theater too.
you have theater on Broadway. You know,
Yeah, man.
you got those layers as well.
You got, bro, like New York has. That's why they say it's like the mecca of the world.
It
It's
really
like
is.
the
It really is.
melting
There's
pot
a
of the world
convergence of all sorts of cultures and
Yeah.
styles and mediums.
coming together.
Absolutely, Rich. You know, yeah. You wanna one of the questions that we had set up here, and we're already talking about it, but I like what it mentions here.
Yeah.
El Paso is quiet in ways is a quite a ways from Staten Island, New York, and your ancestry from Jamaica.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest similarities and differences between your roots and where you find yourself now?
I mean, say that again, brother.
Yeah, okay. You know, like El Paso is nothing. You know, is a world away from Staten Island.
Yeah.
Right. And New York and then and at the same time we're referencing that right now because Jamaica is where is your heritage,
Of
you know,
course.
and then you got Manhattan being a mecca, a cultural mecca. You know, what are some of the differences or the similarities between you being a Jamaican New Yorker and then coming down to El Paso and what are some of the cultural like nuances and differences or similarities that you've experienced or are experiencing?
So yeah, I wanted you to come again because I wanted to
Right,
get that
right.
very clearly.
It's loaded, right?
Yeah,
So,
no,
yeah.
I had to get it clear with him myself too, because that's my boy Jade's question here, so I just want to kind of try something different on the podcast.
Okay.
And see how that.
So I mean, like, the thing about New York and the thing about El Paso is a crossing point. It's the pass, right? So you do get a lot of different people coming through here, and that's the same thing you get in New York. You get a lot of like the people that came from Ellis Island that was coming through during those times. You're still getting that with all the immigration. I feel that's happening here, especially with the military and everything. And that's the kind of the vibe that was getting in New York that I'm getting here. You feel what I'm
Absolutely,
saying?
absolutely.
So at that point, that's where the diversity comes to El Paso. And I really appreciate that about El Paso. So with my Jamaican heritage now, I'm getting the Mexican and the border vibe that I got from, say, like the Puerto Rican vibe and the Dominican vibe in New York City. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I'm trying to kind of link the Hispanic and the border things to the other heritage I'm getting with the other Caribbean islands and seeing how we relate.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
It makes a lot. It
That's
makes a
great,
lot of sense.
Really said, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that's where it kind of coincides with each other, like New York. If I could put that in a synopsis like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You know, one of the things that when writing the book about Don Shapiro's life,
Yeah.
Power at the Pass, and he himself being a New Yorker, he being from the Bronx,
From the
you know,
Bronx, brother.
one of the things that I had initially in the first chapters of the book, as I was presenting it to to him and his wife, she thought it was a little absurd that I would make a reference to El Paso being like Manhattan or the five
Dallas,
boroughs
yeah.
as
A melting pot.
a melting pot and a
Yeah.
migration point. And mind you, of course, you don't have the ocean. The Rio Grande is not.
It's not an ocean.
It's not an ocean. And a,
We
and
almost
a,
got
and
at
a,
the park. What are you talking about?
But you
You're
know
like, what? Really?
You know what? I think the military and I think the university, the UTEP, the Fort Bliss, the border itself, the crossing, and then there's not only Mexicans crossing the border. There's also Panamanians. There's
Yes.
also Cubans. There's also Hondurans.
Thank you.
So I'm getting that sense of melting pot here too.
Yes, sir.
I mean, sometimes you don't always see it, but we know it's going on, specifically now because we're seeing the what you call it, the traffic coming over and the problems at the border. And that's another thing that I looked you up, man. Like once we met and then you told me about your book more in detail, I actually looked up an interview that you did with NPR and the New Mexico State University.
Right.
And it actually touched based on how your mom, like her personal experience on crossing the border. And like I was like, and you were saying that there was a guy that saved her,
Yeah.
And I was thinking that the guy would probably be another person of Mexican heritage, and I was surprised to see that it was African American or a black man.
Well, how would you? Would it be an African American if he was a Mexican? How would you? What would
I
be?
would just know, but people would assume
Right, yeah.
that it would be another person coming from.
Isn't that crazy? Like it was my older brother that told me. I didn't know that until I was writing the book, and a lot of the research I had to really thoroughly dig through it, and because my family is not the kind of family to sit down and like divulge the history. And my mom is a very stoic spirit because she had to be both the mother and the father. She's not
stern.
she's not a talker about the past. It's like deal with the present and make sure you get to a better future.
But that was the point, bro. That was the point I was
Indeed.
trying to make. Like, people don't realize that there's other people here, just like the Buffalo soldiers that are buried here.
Yeah.
They were black men that were here on the border. So there's other people in history, just like there's other people in history coming from Ellis Island that were of different cultures.
Absolutely.
That's where everything combines and where it ties together. And that's how I feel El Paso on the border and New York and the Jamaican and the Caribbean people of different cultures, whether it be of English speaking, French speaking, Latino speaking. That's how I kind of put everything together with my culture, my sense of brought up sea and my journey.
Absolutely.
You feel what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that people will find out more and more about El Paso and Juarez, and specifically through the book, Part the Past. We talk about a lot of the the Middle Eastern impact of there's a lot of Lebanese and Syrians.
I know that,
a
bro.
lot of Jewish.
Well, look at Don.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your business partner.
Russian, German, Jewish.
Bro, he's from New York, and that's another thing why I really kind of like relate to you guys, because there's another New Yorker here. He's he's been here for decades, but he's here.
Absolutely.
And, he came here just like I came here, and my family came here. We didn't have to come here, but we felt that this place was a hidden gem, and that the lifestyle here is a lot better as far as like living expenses, and it's a lot cheaper, and it's a lot more not so condensed like New York City.
Absolutely.
And that's why a lot of people are actually moving out of New York City and the bigger cities to come to places like El Paso.
Isn't it crazy how me growing up here, like you have a lot of El Pasoans have that kind of love-hate towards their own town, right? Like,
yeah, man.
Self-hate.
yeah, you grew up with like I want to get out of here type of mentality. I did myself, man.
Yeah, man.
Like I was like, it was but in leaving and getting older and wiser to an extent,
Yeah, man.
you to an extent, right? You realize just how unique this town is when spending time in other places, and I think people that are not from here, like Don, has a real love for the region. Like he really chose the open spaces and the skies over the skyscrapers. A lot of people, you guys see the beauty and the gem that it is. While other El Pasoans, have a hard time with that.
You know what it is? Not to cut you off, brother.
Yeah, go for
but
it,
you
man.
know what it is? Like an outsider looking in, like there's certain things that you don't like everything about a place that you're in, but
right.
From a business sense and from a sense of coming from a place that you've lived mostly all your life and you're looking to expand into different markets, you have to look at it that way as well. You can't just stay stagnated in one spot and expect to want to grow. So, eventually you have to go to other places as well. Like I've been here for 9 years. That's why I've been going to Toronto and back to England and all those other places, because eventually I want to go and take what I've learned here to other places so other people learn about El Paso and see what benefits it could be for them, 'Cause I've met a lot of people here of German heritage that are not from El Paso. They come here. People of not just Cuban or Latino, but I've seen Albanian, French people, and a lot of them come through the military. I'm not going to lie. A lot of them do come through the military,
Absolutely.
and they end up staying here and marrying. So that's what happens, man. But that's life.
Absolutely. You were gonna say, Rich?
Oh no, I was just going to draw that parallel between you and Don in that sense, like
Yeah, man.
of coming here and seeing opportunity, and that's fundamental, to your success, to Don's
Exactly.
success, and what you will see coming is, and because drawing from my own experiences as well, like there is a lot of that kind of self-hate. Oh, not, I don't may use that, but
Yeah.
it's cool to see that and experience in these
you're
artists.
you're never you're never gonna like everything about a place. You're never gonna
Yeah.
like everything about a person or a subject. You
Yeah.
know, you have to go with the flow at times and learn, and then decide from there what you really want to do with your life or whatever you're doing in life.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You feel what I'm saying?
Right on cue. Right on cue.
Oh,
You know what I mean? You done know.
you said it, man. No, that's wonderfully said.
Yeah,
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 man.
yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and actually dive into some of your your music and
All right,
you know
bring it
like
come. Bring it
right
come.
here. This is gonna be a cue in the podcast, but like the radio show back. We're gonna show some of your some of
Awesome.
your tracks, and then why don't you've worked with talk about just earlier on. I was watching the Steel Pulse video,
The Door No
No
Return.
Return. Tell us more about that experience and you being a part of that.
So man, like I remember my dad was just introducing me to Selwyn and introducing me to David Hines, who are the founding members of Steel Pulse. But I was always raised with their music, and I was going to their concerts, and I would meet them in passing before. But then he just seen me. He was like, "Oh, you look like a little Mike Tyson," because at the time I was more jacked, and it was at the South Street Seaport. And he was like, "Yo, I would love you to be in my video." I was like,
Yeah,
I was shocked, bro. And I was like, okay, yeah, man, I definitely would want to be in a video. And actually, guess what? He actually did me a favor, and he was in my My Life music video. He
nice.
did a cameo for
Wow.
me.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, but
Where'd you shoot that?
in New York.
New York. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Staten
shot
Island?
it. No, we shot it in Brooklyn, and
Ooh,
actually, because we
nice.
had to get him while he was in
Okay.
in town.
Right. Right.
So like, yeah, man. So he put me in the Door No Return video. I played one of the guys that was trying to entice the youth them, to come and do certain things that they shouldn't have been doing
right.
in the video. And I
Right,
was in
right,
a
right.
gold hoodie and stuff like that. And he was a little like ticked off that I wasn't wearing the muscle shirt, but I had to change, bro. But David is always cool, man.
You
every
were not
time.
gonna be typecast, man. You're like, I'm not gonna wear the muscle
Nah.
shirt, man. No, I'm just
But because remember, it was a 2-day shoot.
right. Right.
But the second day was in Brooklyn, and they
Okay.
were doing some like kind of like to mesh like African culture with the modern kind of hip hop dance.
Okay.
So it went from one like fashion to the next, all in the same with Driftwood Pictures. What's his name? Kirkston Hanston. He was the one that actually casted me for that section of the video.
Nice.
And yeah, man, he's an English guy, and big up to him. Big ups to him for putting me in the video. It was just a awesome time in my life, man, because I've been listening to David Hines and Still Pulse for forever since
you grew up with it.
Yeah,
You
bro,
grew up with
since
that,
I was
yeah.
like a baby, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just so check out that music video.
Door No Return.
Yeah. Find Matt Johnson in there.
Yeah.
A young Mike Tyson.
That's what he
figure-ish,
said.
you know?
That's what he said, but that was the thing that he said. But I didn't think I looked like
right. And so also you work with the producer of Paul Henton, and who's
Computer Paul.
yes,
yeah.
who's known for his work with Shaggy and Akon.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be reaching out into the higher echelons of the industry and planting your feet in the same ground as such big names?
Well, you know what happened? My mom actually grew up with Computer Paul
Okay.
in Harborview, because that's where my mom is from, Harborview in Jamaica,
Right.
and Kingston. And my dad actually reached out to him, and he was like, yeah, man, come, bring him, come. And we went down there, and it was just exciting times. And he actually did my track, I Really Don't Know. And it was just, he actually worked with more people than Sean Paul and Shaggy and those people. He worked with Sly and Robbie, who are like big, huge people that worked with No Doubt and people like that. And he's also worked with the Wailers, and like bro, it was just, it was amazing working with the guy, bro. It was a really true like experience, you know what I'm saying? And then the fact that he grew up with my mom and he knew my mom from when she was a kid.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I love it. I love the sort of the urban anthropology of the genre.
Yeah, man.
As is the case with a lot of what hip hop is.
Yeah, man.
Respectively to the regions. I start to think about it in that context. Not that I try to go there, but I think that's just the default of it. As for me, when I write about my experience with my first book, about my mom raising us, 4 kids on her own without a father. My father dying when I was 3 years old. A lot of that is kind of is parlayed into her own, her own, art of, and the tenacity of wanting to raise a family and build a better future. And I think the great art, is the telling of that
It
story
goes to
within its own flavor and its own place and time and its own context and its own frame.
It's on that same wavelength, right?
Indeed, and
Yeah, man.
so I really appreciate, what's going on and what you're doing and what you're bringing to the region,
Yeah,
and so talk a little bit about what what does the future hold for reggae and dancehall scene, for you and for El Paso. But as I'm phrasing the question, I realize that a lot of what you're saying, though, you love
Yeah.
El Paso and you're
Yeah,
from
man.
El Paso. I mean,
Been here for a while.
yeah. So
I
you're
guess,
an honorary El Pasoan,
yeah,
by
man.
a 10
I'm a
year
resident.
generational default. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm a resident, man.
And so talk about but what makes it all the more valuable and makes it more of a stamp is that you travel a lot,
Yeah, man, I
and,
always
and
have
you
been.
take the region out and you'll bring the rest of the world here.
Yeah,
So
man.
what is the future of reggae and dancehall hold here on the borderland in El Paso for you?
Well, I've been bringing the vibes down here, man, and I've been doing it for years. And I've been bringing it to all the major festivals here, Minor Palooza, Neon, and they actually loved it. And what I'm doing is I'm fusing the pop, because I'm not all dancehall and reggae. I fuse with pop, R&B, and electronic music. And I feel that's what brings the vibe truly to the borderland, because the borderland loves electronic dance music. They love Hispanic like reggaeton, and reggaeton derives from what? Reggae and dancehall. Daddy Yankee will tell you he looked up to Snow. That's why he had Snow on his track from Informer,
Right.
And I feel dancehall music and reggae music will start blending in with the electronic and the reggaeton vibes here. And that's what I'm already bringing to that sector of my music and in my genre. You feel
Right.
what I'm saying? And
Right.
I've been doing it for years, but I'm even doing it bigger now. And that's why I got the Latin Grammy nominee Cedar Rocks, who was working with like Zach Noel, DJ Dioro, and all those people. And he's actually was just on Netflix, man.
Wow.
So yeah, for I think Satan. I think Satan.
Okay. Yeah. I've seen. I mean, I haven't seen the show, but I've seen the
Lucifer.
Right, right,
Lucifer.
right,
That's what
right.
it's called. Lucifer.
the Satan.
That's what it's called. I mean, well, it's the same thing. It means the same thing.
AKA,
Yeah, so whatever.
Beelzebub, whatever you want to,
You know, but yeah. So
and what it parlays perfectly into the next question I had to address is that, and that's
Yeah.
about the brand.
Yeah, man.
As a marketer, I dare call myself that.
Yeah.
Aside from other things, I'm always trying to understand what it is that I do as a marketer. Not that I'm trying to understand it. I just
Yeah,
think
man.
that if I address it sincerely, I'm able to provide a more authenticated,
A
product,
vibe,
and a
yeah.
vibe. So that way I can respect myself a little bit more when I look in the mirror in the mornings,
Exactly,
right? Because I
yeah.
want to give something positive and have some value, have a high value proposition.
Exactly.
Aside from and the noise of the industry, the
True.
static and the distractions, right? Like,
Yeah.
Bill, you have a brand, Matt Johnson, you're a brand, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things is I want to parlay. I think what an industry is, for El Paso and for it sort of coming through and developing its identity, and for the younger generation out there of artists, singers, musicians. What does an industry mean, in terms of like L.A. and New York, in terms of how we know success and building a career? And for you, reggae, and dance hall and pop has
Yeah.
been your staple, and you've also parlayed off into some acting. You're a SAG actor, Screen Actors, for you don't
Yes,
know, the
man.
Screen Actors Guild,
Yeah.
and you've also been sponsored by Ziona Fashions and Urban
Yeah.
Botanicals. And what has been your experience like interacting with the fashion industry and the acting industry?
Well, I mean, being from New York, that's like the mecca of fashion for the States, more than LA is. And I think it's just a melting pot of everything. Like, it goes hand in hand with entertainment, acting, music. I think all of those meld together, and I've been doing all of them pretty well, and that's why I'm always able. Like, look what I'm wearing right now. I'm always like in a fashion sense, even
Right,
though I'm
right.
not a fashion designer or one of those things, but I always keep up with the trends and the times.
Absolutely.
So I feel music goes hand in hand with those industries, and it just blends together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that El Paso has always been big on. Throughout the years, I remember Guy Rex was a big sort of pageant.
Yeah,
Miss
yeah.
Texas. They won five Miss Texas out of El Paso in the '70s and '80s, and Don Shapiro and his wife would support them financially, sponsor them, and they put El Paso on the map. When it came to
Wow.
fashion and pageants are big in El Paso.
You know what?
Throughout I mean, you know that working with Mercedes Benz and
Yeah, I was about to tell when I first came here, because I'm not really particularly like into like the modeling, like deep, 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 deep. I have like kind of like dabbled in it, but like when I came here, I was doing stuff with Wilhelmina, and I was able to do the hangar shows, the Mercedes Benz shows, and they went really well, man. And I thought that I was able to bring some diversity into the show, and that's
absolutely.
what I appreciated about that experience.
One of I say that because though I tend to be just behind the scenes in
Yeah,
certain ways. I like being the writer and the director. I like being behind the camera, but I've also had my time in front of the camera.
yeah, man.
I've left trying to play college basketball at UTEP in '96
Oh,
to
you was.
I walked on. I was redshirted. I wasn't part of the team, but I was getting invited to practice with them because I was prepared for that. But I was not going to play Division One college basketball. My dreams had to be deferred, and I had theater calling me when I did a video, and I was a recipient of the first Independent Filmmaking Award in 1996. I say that not to brag about that. I say that more to understand that at that point I really wanted to play basketball. I really wanted to pursue my dream. I did not want to get involved in that. And I had a theater director, Lisa Marie Conklin, that was going to grad school to NYU, ironically,
Wow.
wanted me to audition for a play called The Conduct of Life, written by Cuban playwright Maria Irene Fornes. And
Wow.
the character was like a Che Guevara, but corrupt, and corrupt in that he was an executioner and of his own, and the character was diabolic, man,
Wow.
and so when I went to go audition, I got the lead role. So I had to make a decision. I have a lead role in a play in a college play at 20 years old, 21 years old, and I'm barely gonna make the third team on the college basketball team. It was like God putting the obvious in front of me. It's like make a
Yeah.
choice, and the wise choice was to go where I was the lead and not the background.
You know what, bro? Since you're bringing up theater, I actually did a little bit of theater before I went into like doing Gossip Girls and One Life to Live, the soap operas later in life. Um, I did. You're gonna love this one, West Side Story, bro.
Oh wow,
Yeah, bro. In high
nice.
school, and I played. I was the first Black Ice, bro. You don't remember Ice?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I was doing boy, boy, crazy boy, stay cool, boy. You know that one?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Got
yeah.
a rocket in your pocket. Stay coolie cool, boy. Don't have, those ones.
Hey, man, nice,
Yeah,
Awesome,
nice,
man.
right on.
yeah,
And
man.
and so yeah, man. Like I really like that. The range of you're
Yeah,
very well rounded,
yeah, man.
Hmm.
artist, and I also I went from that to like acting. I got my SAG card, or when I was 19, I came out in I played ironically the role of a mojado man,
Seriously.
of an immigrant, being staying in the garage of the lead character with my wife, and the guy comes in and he catches me and they let me stay the night, and I had some offers from Chris Webster, who produced Hellraiser and Heathers and Jacob's Ladder and
Wow.
Tombstone. He tells me like, hey, at the rap party over at Sonic Ranch out in Tornillo, Texas.
I've never been to Sonic Ranch here, bro.
You have to go, man. It's
I've
a
never been.
it's a world class
Definitely
studio.
worth checking
It's
out.
like gorgeous, man. It's
Wow.
been around forever, and there he offered me a job to go to Venice and work with the studios out there. It was a really prime period of my life, and worked on a lot of films. I worked on Traffic,
Wow.
in 2001 with Benicio del Toro. I was his stand-in, and I got to be with him for about a week and work with Soderbergh and see how they worked back
And
then. And
vibed,
so
right?
so amazing, man. I mean, I got totally taken into the culture, and I knew then and there that I was exactly where I was supposed to be.
Bro, and I seen
And
it. I
and
did the research, man, and I like your film and your book. Did you actually make a film for that, or you just did the book?
just the book,
But the
yeah.
book, bro, I think you should do a film for that,
I would
man.
love to.
I really think that would really touch a lot of people, and I think it would cross over to not only the Hispanic people crossing the border, but even like the African American experience, because like the section with your mom and that really touched me, bro. Like that
Wow,
really
thank you,
did,
man.
bro.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I was like, oh man, look at that, man.
Yeah, yeah. That's always been part of the dream. Is
Yeah,
is uh,
man.
is and I think it's leaning towards that direction with Part the Past. I think the way that we wrote the book, and we wrote it like almost like a screenplay in a
Yeah,
sense, for
man.
me to be able to leverage that, and to tell South Sun Rises into a book would be like, man, the planets aligning, entirely. And I think that's very natural. I
Yeah.
think it's not like, I think it's in the works, in the making.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Well,
That
this,
bro, that
yeah,
would be awesome, man.
the storytelling's so powerful in that it will translate in almost any medium. But yeah, film would be something else.
absolutely,
Yeah, man.
absolutely. So okay. And are you anticipating any upcoming collaborations with El Paso musicians?
Well, my manager and my agent here, Aaron, is linking me with a lot of different people, and Wasted and Ascension, and people from Las Cruces, and also people here in El Paso. And we're going to be doing a lot of different things, not only musically, but business wise, with some of the brands here in El Paso that actually fit my brand. The
Nice.
kind of pop island kind of, crossover brand. So that's what we're going to be doing here in El Paso. We're also bringing to El Paso the Jamerican and the 915 skits, where I'm
Nice.
going to be doing like what it feels like to be Jamaican American in El Paso. And we're going to be
Wow.
putting it on social media. And we've already been doing that, but we kind of been just teasing it. And then what we've been doing is also putting my own music behind those skits on Instagram,
I,
if you
I,
know what
I
I'm
was gonna
saying.
That's
ask
awesome,
you,
man.
how does all, in this time that we're in,
Yeah, yeah.
COVID times, and how, the tectonic plates of culture has shifted, right? And there's some kind of existential crises, and there's also
Yeah,
opportunities in that.
of course.
Like I was gonna ask, what are some of your ideas and methodologies and approaches to getting your brand and your name out there and your culture in this time?
Well, right now, social media is where it's at. And what we're doing is we're using the Jamerican and the 915 skits to bring my personality out, not only here in El Paso, but internationally, because, Americans I can't go to Germany now. I can't go back to Canada right now because non-essential travel is basically shut down until the coronavirus goes down here. So what we've been doing is just using El Paso as a hub and building my brand, which is the Jamerican brand, with the pop and electronic dance music, and just bringing it to the social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, my own website at Matt UJ Music, and then just tying them all in together. Facebook as well with ClickFunnels and stuff like that. Those are the things and the tools we're using to bring me to the masses. And I think a lot of people, not only like people like myself, but people in different lines of business are doing that as well.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it. Yeah, I
man.
mean, you have to, right? We
Yeah,
have
yeah,
to
yeah.
we have to adapt. I know Richie's doing his online open mics, which are
Did you
pretty.
say Lionel Richie?
No, no,
No, no,
no,
right?
over
I
here.
know.
So talk a little bit about
Like,
your
yeah, yeah,
your
yeah.
your online open
Well, yeah,
mics.
yeah, a lot of adapting. Man, my open mic series has been around for a decade, and
Awesome.
when everything closed down, people need that outlet. So people were reaching out to me. So I started doing an online, open mic.
Like streaming?
Yeah, live stream through
Oh.
YouTube. Look into Facebook. Apparently, Facebook's changing. It's like it has these weird music policies, but I'm about to start some live music series as well
Oh,
to
that's
feature
awesome.
some artists in El Paso.
Yeah, I've
That's
been
a
I've
couple
been
different
curious to see
entities.
when he does his online open mics.
So
I'm like, how does that work? And I've been keeping up with how he's adapting, and it's a great response. He has a lot of people sign up.
One of the silver linings is whereas here we might have more people tuning in a live stream than might actually be at a show at a given date, and
That's
also
true.
people from all over the country and even the world get to tune in and participate.
Bro, don't you see what they're doing with verses?
Yeah,
With,
that's-
like what they did with Brandy and Monica, they did it with Patti LaBelle and Gladys Knight. They even had some of the reggae icons, Beanie Man and Bounty Killer.
Interesting.
And it's just we need to do that here in El Paso.
it's
as
cool.
well, man.
We're learning new ways. I think culturally, like in a larger degree, everyone's learning now these mediums as well. So it's cool.
No,
It is, man.
yeah, it's an opportunity. There's got to be the opportunity, right? You gotta sort of catapult yourself off of the anxieties
Yeah,
and the fears and just the uncertainties and
The Rona.
and
Just keep moving.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The coronavirus,
Yeah, you got to build the bridges, man. Build the
Yeah,
bridges. So, I'm gonna go ahead and bring this full circle, and it's been awesome, man.
Thank you for having me, man.
I've loved this.
Blessed vibes,
Blessed vibes, absolutely, man. So, any why don't you give us, for the audience out there, your information.
My social media.
Yes.
So where you can find a Jamerican in the 915, you can find me at Matty J Music all across the board. Even my website is www.matthewjmusic.com.
Okay.
MatthewJmusic.com. Instagram, MatthewJmusic.com. Facebook, Matthew J Music. Everywhere else, at Matthew Johnson. On Google, at Matthew Johnson. Spotify, at Matthew Johnson. And, just look me up.
And in case you didn't catch that, it's at Matthew Johnson.
Yeah, but most of social media is at Matthew J Music.
Okay.
cool.
Matthew
Yeah.
J Music.
Yeah.
Okay. Rich, you wanna
Dig it. Yeah, check out El Paso BWOMs. BWOMs is Barbed Wire Open Mic Series. And Instagram Deadwall Reveries. And
What's up?
what's your handles on Instagram? Moneyman.Aaron. That this is Matt's manager and agent,
Yeah, man.
young up and coming
Upcoming
producer,
professional.
agent. Absolutely,
Yeah, man.
a very bright future.
Blessed vibes.
Absolutely, and then Jade, thank you for your research. Thank you for the focus.
Thank you, brother.
And
Appreciate you.
and the energy. It's grounding, and it gives us nice direction. I want to sign off. Thank you all for listening to this episode of Power at the Podcast. Peace.
Bless up.
peace. Yeah. Nice, man.
Bam.